right, this was Tom's choice for the jingle for today's episode. He went for a 70s sort of Chicago-ish brassy rock sort of thing, and I actually haven't heard it yet, so I don't know how it turned out, but I'm hoping it's good. Hi there, welcome to Tom.
I want to put out there, by the way, it's the first time I've had my choice for basically anything in my life in the last month and a half, so I'm very excited about that. So,
well, you chose to go to Lake Chelan.
That's true. Okay,
you choose that one, so you get a few choices.
You're right. I wonder if I just didn't say anything one year, if anybody would say, "Hey, what didn't we used to go to Lake Chelan or something?" So,
oh yeah, they'd say something. They're kind of used to it.
Not like retirement, anyway.
Not like retirement. All right, let's start it. Let's start the show. It's so exciting. We're all pumped up from that big brassy music. I am Don McDonald. That's Tom Cock, the guy who made the choice for the first time in his life. He got to make a choice. And we are here to talk about money. And we're going to do something a little different today. We're going to step way back from retirement and start early. The phases of life. What should you be doing just on a cursory level at various points in your life? We know we have a lot more listeners now in their 20s and 30s. We don't just have people in their 50s and 60s. And so we want to give you some guidance. What should you be doing at X age? Where should you be? And then what's the next step? Is that pretty much what we're covering, Tom?
I think it is. I mean, the article is entitled Financial Priorities Decade by Decade, an expert guide for your 30s to your 60s, which I thought missed the mark right off.
From source it.
I don't remember the source. I don't.
It doesn't
say? Just generic. It doesn't. It's just generic. So I don't remember the.
Oh, now I'm gonna have to go into
my
notes
Kiplinger.
file.
It might be Morningstar.
It.
It might be. I think somewhere on Apple News is where
it's from Kiplinger.
So.
Yeah.
Okay. I think they missed the mark right out of the gate.
Really,
here, by
Kiplinger missing the mark. They've really become a very strange publication lately. But go ahead.
Well, when you pay to play, you're going to get what you pay for. The thing is, right out of the gate, you're missing. I think most people, if they can do certainly anything in their teens, but in their 20s, if you could save something, and save it in a tax-free Roth IRA. I think if I taught people one thing.
Ask Santa for a Roth IRA.
Yeah. I just made a contribution to my daughter's because she's going to max it out, I think, again, with all the time she's been working this year. So, I mean, and she's 18 and she already has, a lot of money in her Roth.
So she has spending. She gets to use her income as spending money, and then you fund the Roth.
I make her do half of it.
Oh, well, that's fair. That's
fair.
Yeah,
so she's setting something aside. But again, so they start in the 30s. But I think, again, if you did nothing else in your 20s, save something and save it in a Roth. That'd be easy.
Yeah, and it's a great habit to get into, particularly if you're in your 20s and you're living at home, so you don't have to pay your own bills.
1 out of 3, folks. That's what I read.
So start in your 20s, but this article starts in our 30s.
And they do bring up some. Okay,
I
first
can
of all,
barely remember my 30s.
There's a few things I can remember from my 30s, and I don't remember them that fondly. However, I met you in my 30s. I remember that. So that was good.
Time.
That was a good affiliation. Their first one is build an emergency fund, which I think is that good philosophy. And most people
because
don't
if you don't build an emergency fund, you start doing some things that can be very harmful. You get into a financial, like the car breaks down. Now you need to spend $10,000 on a car, 20 or 30 on a new car. Don't buy a new car, buy a used car. And you don't have it in your checking or savings, and you do have it in your 401k or your Roth IRA, and you go, well, I need a car. I guess I'm going to liquidate my retirement. No, that's why you want to have the emergency money first. That's actually the best starting place, is an emergency pool before you do anything else.
I think so. I think especially your first job, you're setting aside something right away to do that. Number 2 would be save at least in your retirement plan up to the 401k match. At least. In other words, there's a certain amount they give you. If you put in a certain amount, make sure you're doing that. And I will add to that, which they did not. I think every young person, and I do consider you in your 30s to be young, should have a Roth IRA, because one way or the other, that tax-free growth is so huge for such a lengthy period. I also added another one to this one, Don, and that is, because I see this a lot, people start a 401k and they have no idea what they're doing with the money in it. Oftentimes it remains in the money market. Oftentimes if
or
they
the
have
guaranteed
5 funds,
account or whatever
they put it in all five funds because you have 5 funds in there. You got to know what the asset allocation is.
And then we would suggest that you contact the hosts of Talking Real Money and let them look at your options and say, this is what you should be doing.
No. You know what? I just did that, and I did that with the book. I made an offer for free, and that was a huge mistake.
Call us on the show. Go to talkingrealmoney.com.
Send in your options, and we'll do it.
No. You have to actually become part of the program.
Okay.
There's a cost to this.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to our 40s now, shall we?
Okay. Yeah, we should, because they're closer to something we can actually remember at this point, right? Can you remember your 40s? What were you doing in your 40s?
40s. That would have been 40s.
If you can't remember, you can't. That's like 30 years ago.
Oh, my gosh. I was here. I was in Florida then. I had already moved from Colorado to Florida. I was working out of Walt Disney World for a while, and then, in fact, 40, that would be a little bit of Disney, a little bit of the antique map store and Celebration. Yeah.
I can remember visiting you there. So they talked to some experts about this, and they say the people that struggle in their 40s are carrying too many fixed obligations, bigger mortgages, kids' expenses, aging parents, and higher
credit
insurance
cards.
costs. I think this is important because we always want to talk about the saving and investing, but oftentimes we don't talk about the other side of that equation and the spending, which if people get the spending creep. Right now I'm in my 40s, I'm making a little more money, I can afford to do X, maybe not. Maybe you should be ramping up how much you're spending, et cetera. So, and they need to also be sure that they're really having a long-term planning as part of their overall situation.
Yeah. So one, you got to make sure those credit card, you're not carrying any balances on your credit cards because, folks, you're losing 20 to 30% a year on your money. You're losing 20 to 30. That is like being in a bad stock market every single year.
After year after year.
Yeah.
After year.
And if you put your money into an investment that went down 20, 30% a year, you'd consider yourself fairly stupid if you kept doing that. That's what credit cards do. And then once you get those credit cards down, your 40s is when you really need to get serious about retirement.
Yeah, and
that's when you start
contributions.
You got to look at how much I'm putting away and go, oh, I don't think the plan needs to begin.
Yeah,
you don't really need the plan in your 30s, but in your 40s you start to need at least a cursory plan.
I think that's true, and retirement contributions should go up. Planning for children's, if you're going to be sending them to college at 529, should be increasing. And here's the other thing. When it comes to the asset allocation, many times people set up the right funds when they're 25, but they never rebalance. I think in your 40s, you need to make sure that the asset allocation, the percentage in each one of those funds
Actually, I'm more
matches.
worried about that in your 50s, when you start getting into the period when you're really starting to think about not losing money going into retirement. You're just a little bit more concerned about the ups and downs of the market. That's when your portfolio is going to become slightly less volatile, we hope, and that's where rebalancing really comes into play. You're going to change the balance. You're going to really start to determine what your risk profile looks like in your 50s.
Yeah, and in the article it says pay more attention to volatility. I don't think that's a particularly good idea.
No, pay more attention to your reaction to volatility and adjust your portfolio accordingly.
Yeah, they add in a health savings account. I see no reason, if you can afford it, not to start that in your 30s and 40s, right? I mean, because that's another tax-deferred way to save. And I guess in your 50s, I would say at 50, at least you should have a perfunctory plan for when you might retire and how you're going to pay for it.
Mm-hmm. Because you need to see if you're on track.
That's right.
Really the primary purpose, is to say, okay, I want to retire at 65, 67, 62, whatever the age is, 71. I have saved this much so far. This is how much it has made. This is how fast it has grown. This is what I can do going forward. Are these numbers likely to pencil out in my 60s or 70s?
Wait, you can retire in your 70s? I didn't know that. That's so cool. I'm going to circle the calendar for myself here. So,
Yeah, I'm already there, and I'm not. So I guess
I'm teasing you.
Pretty
and
sure.
Teasing myself a little bit. So the 50s, planning should be there. Maxing thing. I mean, you hopefully have the income to max out all those contributions. I still like the idea of the Roth IRA, either regular contribution or if your income doesn't allow to do a backdoor. And as Don said, the asset allocation should be lessening in terms of risk a little bit because you're getting closer to needing the money or using the money. So then you get to your 60s. I can actually remember my 60s.
This is when some of your decisions become pretty substantive about one big one, and that's when to take Social Security. We talked to a lot of people in their 60s about this, a lot of you. And there is a great deal of disagreement and misinformation and confusion around when to take it.
Yeah, and I'd say part one of that is, and it's going to the noise will get louder in the years ahead. Is Social Security going to be there for me? Because right now I'm hearing in 7 years they're going to be a 20% reduction. I would advocate here taking policy as it is today. We don't know what it'll look like in 7 years, 8 years, 10 years. If I was a betting person, I've said this many times, my guess is they won't mess with Social Security because it's too integral to most people's retirement. But we could have a great political debate about that if you want.
It's a political debate, and it really is foolish to even dive into it because we're just speculating.
Yep. But we can tell you this. Remember, 8% a year gain basically from the time you turn 62 to the time you turn 70, waiting on. So Don waited, I'm waiting. And here's the other part of all that. Not just your benefit, the surviving member of your household if there are two of you. So if Don dies first, Debbie's going to have that larger benefit. If I die first, which you can pretty much guarantee, Danielle's going to have the bigger benefit with her after I'm gone. So it just makes a lot of sense.
And then the other thing that ties very closely in with Social Security is your health care. How are your health care needs going to be taken care of? Are you going to go on Medicare at 65? Or are you going to continue to work and stay on an employer plan? You got to kind of run the numbers on both of those. You got that. You've got where are you going to live? In your 60s, that's where you got to figure out, okay, where do I think I'm going to spend the last quarter of my life? Or third, if
I
you're
like
lucky.
your optimism. I like your optimism there. Another one that they mentioned that I think doesn't get much mention on this program, but should probably, and that is estate planning. If your money or your estate is going to outlive you in some substantive way, or not that substantive, you should still have a plan in place for that.
As Pink Floyd said, shorter of breath and one day closer to death.
So gloomy. I just love it. Thank you. I really appreciate that. But sun's out here in Seattle, so you can get away with that kind of thing. So
these are our peers, these old rock and rollers.
Exactly.
And they were gloomy in their 20s.
They were gloomy.
They really were.
Dark.
So, it's kind of there's a different approach in every one of these decades. But the big goal throughout all of them, the resonating theme is the biggest expense you're going to have is retirement. That's the thing you got to plan for.
And that's the biggest financial decision. I think you hear a lot of times your house is your biggest asset, but really it's not because the house doesn't pay the bills. Your retirement savings will.
Unless you take out a reverse mortgage.
Yeah, which we're not going to open that can of worms right now, but
we don't have time anyway because guess what we have to do?
Ooh, what do
we got a lot of questions that came in at talkingrealmoney.com. Tom's got this big old pile, and every once in a while he looks at one of them and he goes, I think this one really needs a conversation, and then he actually makes it happen.
Thanks, Don. Let's go to the phones. Beautiful Eatonville, Washington, where Mary joins us here on Talking Real Money. Hi, Mary. How are you?
I'm doing great, Tom. How about you?
Just love the summer times in Seattle. I was telling my wife, if we got 200 days a year of this, I'd love it, but I know we're only going to get 25, so get over yourself.
It's getting better. As the years go by, it's getting better.
That's true. That's true indeed. But how can we help you today?
Well, I have a couple questions. I'm looking at doing some Roth conversions for 26, 27, 28. And we have two, traditionals that we can pull from my husband and myself. So I'm trying to decide which one to do the conversion with. So my husband's is invested pretty safely. Mine's a little bit more aggressive. We would touch his first, so we would spend down from that one first, but he's first to take RMDs. So I'm just kind of wondering which one would be the best to do the conversion from, his or mine.
Yeah, I mean, so let's just step back a little bit here on your situation, because I know your husband's a little bit older, but he's still going to have 10 years until he has to start drawing from it at all, right? Age 75, correct?
He's
and you're going to be
75.
And you're younger than he is, so because I know that from talking to you off the air. So, I mean, so you got plenty of time. So we're not in a hurry here.
Nope.
And so let me ask you, so are either of you working, or your income is pretty low right now?
Our income's low. Neither one of us are working. Been retired for about 6 years. I was blessed.
Awesome. That's really good.
Yeah.
So under that scenario, I probably would work his first, because he does have a shorter window, even though both windows are very long. I would also say I'm never going to go higher than fill in the blank in terms of the, tax bracket. I don't want to go higher than 12. I don't go higher to whatever the number is. So I would fill that, but I'd probably start with his because his window is closing sooner than yours, right? I mean, that just kind of makes sense.
And that's what I kind of thought too. But then I look at our value of them, and I look at the RMDs, when they come, we'd spend his down first. I don't know if it'd be smarter to do mine.
So so I think from your notes here, you mentioned that you have more in your IRA than he does. So you're actually, and if you're going to try to convert, then that does become a factor, I guess. Yes, you're right about that. I wouldn't worry about how they're invested, because you can build, due to the fact that all this money is qualified money, either pre-tax or tax-free with the Roths, you can build the portfolio any way you like. So I don't think that should play into it. It is truly the amount of time and the tax bracket, and then the amounts. And seeing as how he has less than you, which is a good place for you to be, I guess. But the fact is his window's shorter. So I don't think there'd be a perfect right or wrong answer there.
Okay.
And I mean, I think the question then kind of becomes how much each year, sort of gaming the tax system. And here's the other part. Do you have the cash to pay the taxes for that?
Yep, we do. Because I figured if I took from mine, I could get penalized because I'm not 59 and a half.
Correct.
So, we have the cash. In fact, I've already started paying estimated taxes for 26, full well knowing that we're going to do a conversion at the end of the year.
Which is another reason, to wait on you another year or two until you reach that 59 and a half. I probably and here's the thing about Roth conversions. When we do these with our clients, it's a year-by-year thing. There isn't, okay, we're now going to do this every year through 2029 or whatever it is. You wake up each year and you look at the situation, you look at your income, you look at the portfolio design, and then to make a decision as to, what we're going to move and how that's all going to work. So I wouldn't be in a hurry to do it more than 1 year at a time. I would be looking closely at the tax bracket, but I'd also make sure I had the cash to pay the bills.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what we were doing. We were doing ACA, so we were trying to keep our income low.
Sure.
And so now we're not worried about that. And so we have room. And, I just think it's silly to waste it. I just want to utilize that low tax bracket.
Which I think makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Yeah, and conversions I don't think are critical for us, because our tax bracket when our RMDs come in might not be that horrible, but I definitely think we'll be up in the 22, if not 24. So if you can pay 12 now, I just want to take advantage of.
I think that's really good strategy. Again, I'd be looking at that closely, making sure, and the brackets could change. We don't know how that works.
Oh, exactly.
But the fact is, you still have a long time until you have to start pulling that money out.
Exactly.
I think that's a good strategy. I mean, I think you also in your note here asked about asset allocation. That's where it's tougher, because, you've got an IRA, he's got an IRA, you've got a Roth, he's got a Roth. I mean, you need to, if you can, look at this in its entirety and say, as a group, here we have this much in stocks, this much in bonds. We're trying to make this much. We're willing to accept this much volatility. That's where it can be difficult with a partner, and you've already mentioned this to me off the air, who's more conservative than you are, right? This is really the tough part of all this. And I have tried, in my lengthy career, you're going to laugh, to try to turn Republicans into Democrats. It never works out very well, right? You tell people, look, trust me, this is the way things have always looked, and then what happens? 2000 comes along, or 2008 comes along, or 2020. And then what people do, they say, see, I told you I was right. I want to go back to just having it all in cash. I don't want to mess around with this because I knew this would happen. And so I don't argue with them anymore because they eventually will be correct, right?
We ran into that in 22 because we retired 21, 22 came along.
Right.
And we were looking at his 401k and stocks and bonds were both down. And we were both kind of like, oh, gosh, I wonder if we made the right choice.
I know. It's just hard. So I mean, you could technically manage it still saying, look, I want our household to be whatever it is, 60-40, whatever, moderate. You guys have been great savers. You're in a great position. And then just put all the bonds and the cash in his stuff and then put all the stocks in yours.
Right. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I look at his stuff and my stuff and I think, okay, his stuff could be the 40 and mine will be the 60.
That's right.
Yeah, that's
and then
exactly
complaining will be a lot less, and then maybe change the online login so he can't see his account. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I do. Yeah, and he doesn't look at all that. I look at it way more, so he would never know.
Okay, yeah. We don't encourage that sort of marital infidelity financially, if you will. But all kidding aside, I mean that's the way I would do it if I had one partner who was completely risk averse. I knew I wanted to have some growth. And we all need growth because inflation is an issue. It is today. It always has been.
Absolutely.
And so we got to make sure we're covered there. But I love the conversions. I love the fact you're thinking about all this stuff. You've done so many things right here when reading your note, and I'm just tickled for you both. I think it looks like a pretty great retirement to me.
Well, thanks, Tom. And quick other question before I let you go. So do you think that as far as the asset allocation, I should start with my Roth, then move to my traditional, maybe put a little more equities in that than what I have to balance out his very conservative investments? Or
I would be doing that today. I would probably, in your circumstance, at least get a professional to look over my shoulder to say, here's what I'm thinking about doing.
Right.
Does this make sense? Yeah, the Roth is where you'd want to, and you have substantial Roth holdings. That's where you want to have the riskiest of stocks. The bonds, yes, you want to put those in the pre-tax or IRA situation here because the interest they pay is not going to be taxed. So, yeah, that makes total sense. But again, you got to try to do this in its totality. That's going to be the toughest part because you're going to get pushback like, well, why are you taking all this risk? We don't need to take risk. And that gets back to having a professional that looks at it and says, exactly, you only need to make 5% a year. You're going to be great. How about a portfolio that's half in stocks, half in bonds? Something like that. That's what Paul has. Yeah, and it works, right? Paul Merriman. Yeah, so
Paul Merriman.
It's worked for a long time. So that's probably where you're at. And congratulations to you being so assertive and trying to make all this happen. It's really cool.
Well, Tom, thank you for your advice. It takes a lot of pressure off with the conversion. It sounds like either one, but we'll go with Rob's, my husband's. I'll do his, and I think that's smart. And then I'm looking forward to meeting with somebody to do some resetting of our assets and some of our accounts. So
thank you, by the way, for your kind words and for listening and being part of Talking Real Money. It's a pleasure.
Okay, you guys are great. Keep up the good work. I love the podcast. The radio show, I'd hit and miss, but the podcast, I put my little headset on and go up in the mountains and I listen to you almost every day. So
thank you so much for that. You take care, Mary.
All right, you take care, Tom. Bye-bye.
He does that. He talks to you just like that. And then he goes to the pile, the big old thick pile. How many in the pile these days? About 40?
Still like 40 something.
All right, so he goes to the pile and he reads a few of your questions. Today starting with this question.
Yeah, from Los Angeles, California.
City of Angels.
I thought you'd love that. Jim writes, hi, Don and Tom. I enjoy your show and appreciate all your advice. My question is, do I need an emergency fund in retirement? I've maintained an emergency fund throughout my working career, but as I transition into retirement in the coming months, I'm wondering what I should do with this fund. Historical reason for the fund has been financial protection in the event of job loss or major unexpected expense. Well, by retiring, I'm intentionally losing my job. I like that, intentionally losing my job. That's fun. That's a whole new way to look at retirement. I love that. And my protection from that is my pension and retirement. Can I mention the fact that I tried to send out an all-company email?
No.
Shut down. I can't do that. Okay.
Well, I mean, how does it relate to this question?
It relate because every time something like this happens, I think they're telling me you're out the door, old man. When stuff like that happens,
You're thinking they're involuntarily pushing you into retirement.
I think they've set the stuff up on my computer in a way.
Personally, I think you're a little paranoid.
Maybe so. Anyway,
and to quote the Jonas Brothers, you may be paranoid. I just know that because of my daughter.
Yeah, she was big. Still is, I guess. Anyway, the point is...
Yeah, she's going to her mom is flying up to New York. They're going to a Jonas Brothers concert together.
I love that. In my house, it would be Taylor Swift, so probably the Jonas Brothers are cheaper. So back to the question. He goes on and on and on, but at the end of the day, he says his target allocation for the emergency is 35% bonds, 1/4 in short-term treasuries. So the real question here is,
what's the question?
Emergency fund in retirement, yes or no?
Yes. Still yes, because the emergency fund, you're, again, overthinking, overdoing, overanalyzing. The emergency fund is that short-term savings, that money market fund. That's what it is. It's that not income, of spending, of not even spending, of something happening that's going, like the roof blowing off the house, or just it's sprung a leak, or you got a replumb, or, the ACs go out like they do in Florida about every other day. You got a $10,000 bill that you hadn't expected. That's what that's for, and then you rebuild it. But because you don't want to sell your bonds at
the wrong time
in a down market. You don't want to sell your stocks in a big down market. So that's why it's there. It's just there so you don't have to sell other things. That's all. You don't have to have a lot of it, just enough to cover an out-of-pocket expense that might cause you to dip in at a bad time.
Yeah, I think that's sage advice. From somewhere in Pennsylvania, Anonymous writes.
Wow, it's a big state, Pennsylvania.
That is. What level of umbrella coverage should one have when compared to their net worth? What if their net worth is $10 million, $20 million, 401k assets are considered
safe? 10 or
safe?
20 million, you need to have like the giant beach umbrella.
That one of those ones you can put up without having it blow away.
Yeah.
In a similar fashion, is there a point where one should definitely explore a family office? Family office being your own place that manages your money. We're talking about real money here. We're talking real money here.
We're talking real money there. We're not talking $20 million.
That's more like 100.
We're 9 figures now.
Yeah.
Where that starts to come into play. And as for umbrellas, actually, the more money you have, the less you need an umbrella.
Yeah, because you have it covered.
Right, you self-insure.
Yeah.
Think about this. A lot of giant corporations self-insure for their health insurance plans even. They pay for them because insurance, most people lose when it comes to insurance. That's the way the system must work. So if you insure yourself, then you are more likely to pay less, although you're on the hook for that potentially big payout. But the problem is you're betting against yourself when you're buying insurance, and you're likely you're going to lose because you're going to lose those premiums. Yeah, you won't have the big out of pocket. The reason you have an umbrella is if I've got $1 million of assets, and if I lose that $1 million of assets, I'm in trouble. So I might need $1 million umbrella to cover that.
Yeah. Oh, especially if they're illiquid assets. In other words, if you had a home and or wages that could be, confiscated, right? If you had the umbrella is all about the completely unexpected and outrageous.
Exactly. And here's the thing. Yeah. You don't need a bigger umbrella as you get richer because what we're insuring against are really unlikely events.
Yeah.
What is the likelihood that you will do something that will cause you to be sued for damages of greater than $1 million?
Very few things.
Very few things. And generally, they're all car related.
Yeah. Right.
Literally car related.
Yeah.
That's where human beings cause the most harm and damage. It's not slip and falls because generally those come in well under $1 million. As one who served on many government boards and agencies, been sued for slip and falls, it usually comes in the 5 or 6 figure numbers, never 7.
Have you guys had to pay any out there in beautiful Celebration, Florida?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It happens. Yeah.
Right. That's why we have crews out here right now pulling up half the sidewalks in town because the trees lift them an inch and somebody will trip and
on
fall.
them. Okay.
So,
yeah, I think umbrella, I think you're right. But yeah, and in terms of the family office, that's
lots
I'd say
of
100
money.
mil. Yeah, at least real money. I'll get time to squeeze one more in here.
Yeah, we have plenty.
Okay. From Wagner, South Dakota. Snow, which apparently they probably get a lot of in Wagner, South Dakota, writes. Hi, Tom and Don. Thank you for your outstanding podcast. Could you please tell me the pros and cons to these 3 retirement portfolios? Number one.
Ready? Yeah.
Number one, 40% U.S., 40% international, 10% small value, 20% bond.
Okay. Keep going.
Okay.
Wait, I'm supposed to comment on each one?
Well, I'll give you all 3, and then you can comment on the whole thing. Number 2, 40% U.S., 30% international, 10% AUV, AVUV, 10% SGOV, 10% BND.
Okay. And what's
Number 3, 40% U.S., 30% international, 10% AVUV, 20% bond, 10th of short-term treasuries. I don't know what that means.
Ladder, probably?
All 3 portfolios would include 1-year emergency fund and high-yield savings account.
There's almost no difference.
There's not a lot of difference.
There's not a lot of difference. We're really getting into the weeds here. I mean, who knows? Literally, who knows? I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of having, like 50% U.S., 50% international. That's me.
Yeah, but all these, you're including, a significant amount of U.S. stocks, significant amount of international, and then you're throwing in a little bit of the small value.
And some bonds. And
you're probably any of these are probably
the
fine.
more bonds, the lower your volatility is likely to be. So the scare factor, the fear factor is going to be reduced somewhat. But there's so little potential difference. It's hard to, in fact, we cannot possibly tell you what that would be going forward. The more aggressive the portfolio, the more you have in stocks, the more you have in value in small, the better your returns would have been historically, and we imagine might be. The more you have in bonds, the less the returns, but the more comfortable the portfolio might be.
I can tell you,
and that's a decision you have to make.
Yeah, I think that's true. I can tell you more and more of you ask me every day, when's the big crash coming? Because people are feeling it like the market's gone up so much, and we got this AI bubble, and interest rates are going up, and the
funny thing is people have been asking when the next crash is coming since 2009.
Yeah, well, depends on your definition, but
because the market went up in 2009, and everybody went, "Oh, well, this is just a dead cat bounce. When are we going to get the other one?"
Yeah,
and we've been asking ever since.
Snow also asks, at what point do I start adding the 20% fixed income? Because they're in 4 to 5 years from retirement, right now 100% in stocks. 4 to 5 years?
It's you.
I would say now. No, I would say now.
But
now.
Yeah, I think now is probably the most likely scenario. If you haven't gone and taken the risk quiz at talkingrealmoney.com, go take that. That's going to tell you a lot right there. How much risk can you stand? And then it becomes the question of how much risk you need to take. If you don't need to take a lot of risk, why take it? Are you just trying to be the person in your neighborhood with the most money? I mean, maybe in your little town there that could be you, but on a national or global scale, you're not going to win. Sorry.
I hate to break it to you, not even on a state level, probably.
No, but maybe in the town. I don't know how big the town is. What was the town again?
It's a small place. It's called Wagner, South Dakota.
Wagner? I don't even know that. I
don't
love
either.
South Dakota.
I'm not that familiar with South Dakota.
I'm pretty familiar.
Is that where they got the presidents on the rocks?
Gosh. Holy cow. Okay, she could be the richest person in Wagner.
How big?
It's right in the, wow. It's almost dead center in the state. It's over. Wow. It's kind of close to Mitchell and Yankton. Mitchell, where the Corn Palace is. You ever been to the Corn Palace in Mitchell?
No.
You've never been to the Corn Palace?
No, but is that where they got the presidents up on the side of the hill there? I've been there.
No, that's in the state, but not in the same area.
Okay.
Oh my gosh! Hold on. Let's see what it is. Wow. I mean,
how big?
Okay. Well, on one side of Highway 46, you have 1st through 5th Street.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of Highway 46, you've got North Street, A and B Street, and Main Street. Really? Yeah. There's
Can't believe they ruined our city by putting that freeway right through the middle there, Don.
There's a Wagner building supply and Ace Hardware.
Well,
it's really near the reservation, and there's a casino, of course, because it's near the reservation. Near the
got an
Yankton
Ace, you got a
reservation.
casino, you're all set. So
I got to figure out what the population is now. Wagner.
I gotta go. You gotta go.
No, you don't.
I gotta roll.
Hold on.
Roll. Thank you for coming.
All right, I'm going to just give you the population because everybody wants to know, and it wouldn't be fair to leave them
Wagner,
hanging.
you're having your moment. Yes?
1,490. Yes, you could be the richest person in Wagner.
By the way,
Congratulations.
thank you for listening to us in Wagner. I think that's cool.
I do too.
I got to go back to
Lovely
Mount
spot.
Rushmore. I've only been once. So
I've been several times. I really do love the Black Hills and the Badlands, and I'm sorry,
I
the
love
area
reading all
over
those
around
books about
Yankton, not exactly my favorite part of the country. No offense, but And if you have questions, well, go to talkingrealmoney.com and type them up for Tom so you can add to his paper pile, or hit the little green button and speak them to me for the Friday podcast. Either way, we're going to try and get your questions answered in a not too distant program. And if you want to meet with an advisor, like a real one, like somebody like Roxy who just got her CFP, go Roxy.
Oh, you get to make the big announcement. Nice work.
I snuck it in. You just go to talkingrealmoney.com and click on the button that says Meet an Advisor, and you can meet with one of our advisors for free, for nothing, and with no cost or obligation or high-pressure sales pitch. There. Thanks for listening. Take good care of yourselves. And we are continuing and will continue to be... I forgot the other word.
Talking real money.
The opinions and views expressed on this podcast were current on the date recorded. Opinions, estimates, forecasts, and statements of financial market trends that are based on current market conditions constitute our judgment and are subject to change without notice, including any forward-looking estimates or statements which are based on certain expectations and assumptions. Although information and opinions given have been obtained from or based on sources believed to be reliable, no warranty or representation is made as to their correctness, completeness, or accuracy. Information presented on the podcast is not personalized investment advice from Appella Wealth. The views and strategies described may not be suitable for everyone. This podcast does not identify all the risks, direct or indirect, or other considerations which might be material to you when entering any financial transaction. Past performance does not guarantee future results, and profitable results cannot be guaranteed. We hope you realize that the information provided on Talking Real Money is for informational, educational, and hopefully enjoyable purposes only. The podcast is not trying to get you to buy or sell any financial products or securities. Instead, the program is provided as a public service by Appella Wealth, a fee-only registered investment advisor. Please see Appella Wealth's ADV Part 2A on our website for information regarding Appella's fees and services. Appella Capital, LLC, DBA Appella Wealth, is an investment advisory firm registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. The firm only transacts business in the states where it is properly registered or excluded or exempt from registration requirements. Registration with the SEC or any state securities authority does not imply a certain level of skill or training. Appella does not provide tax or legal advice, and nothing either stated or implied here should be inferred as providing such advice. Thanks for listening, and please visit TalkingRealMoney.com for more information and important disclosure related to performance of any specific index or fund quoted in this podcast. And the lawyers get richer.